Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Canuck Summers. A little bit of a warning. What you might see soon, you may find offensive, so you may need to look away. There's my shoes. I brought Philippine bacteria back with me. There's anapog stuck in the shoes here, so I started cleaning when I thought, I'm going to do a little video on this. I have brought Philippine bacteria here. Okay, so hang tough. I'm going to give you a quick little update. Okay, so now that we're back in Canada and we've had a little bit of time, let's review the AAC decision that we made since it's now complete. And the experiment was on the garage. Probably a very expensive experiment, but was it? So here in this picture you can see that we have framed around the garage opening, the garage door, with hollow block. And the main reason for that was simplicity at the time when we hadn't received the AAC blocks. But the simplicity is it's east facing, and we needed lentils and we needed stronger corners entering the garage. So it was easier to chip away at the hollow blocks, and I mean chip. They're, the hollow blocks are not that strong. I'm quite amazed. You can grab the corner of a piece of hollow block and with your thumb and finger snap it off. I challenge you to do that with an AAC block. Okay, you just can't do it with your hand. Anyway, so that was the reasoning for the front of the house, or the front of the garage, which will be our house next year. But right now, that was the reasoning behind that. So also, we did not put any lentils or beams at the top. We just used the roof to tie it all together. And again, single story, and it's a garage. It may be a guest house in the future, and the plans are actually set for that because there is a sink in there and the provision for shower and or CR bathroom is out the back of the house between the main house and the garage. It will be attached to the garage. So that's already been provisioned. It's going to be provisioned in our plumbing, etc. But back to the AAC. So as you can see here, we had a training and the guys laid down a couple of quick blocks. Everything that the guys do with hollow blocks is exactly the same as with AAC blocks. All of the strings that they run, the lining up, make sure it's properly vertical, properly horizontal, all that is exactly the same. The difference is the adhesive, and the adhesive consistency is very quickly, easily seen, and a little bit extra water isn't going to hurt it. A little bit less, a little harder to apply, but so be it. Of course, the skim, or the adhesive, is a skim that goes on very thin. It goes on with a trowel, a notch trowel, so it's quite thin. And then with a simple rubber mallet, you lay the block on there gently, put your level on, and tap, 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 tap to get vertical and horizontal properly aligned. Where the guys in their technique come in is that they're not used to doing finishing with concrete of this nature. Think of cinder blocks and how they go in a Western country. The thickness of the mortar is very consistent. The troweling off and in many cases notching in a slight bevel is very common in our countries, and the tools are available to do all of that, and they don't leave residue on the outside of the block. Because you got to remember that your finishing coat is this putty that these guys put on. Again, it's another type of adhesive. Each seam has to be knifed off, if you want to call it. Don't drag as if you're applying. You got to use the trowel in the reverse fashion and skim it all off. And don't worry about whether you pop a piece out. You can fill that with the putty. But let's get down to the cost, because this is going to be the $64,000 question you guys have all got. Yes, the blocks are monstrously huge expense. Okay, and if you're not planning on finishing the outside of your house or the inside of your house in any time soon, you want to take multi-years to do this, etc., 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 then you're going to have to bite the bullet, and the long-term cost for you is going to be more expensive. But where did we save money in the fact that we did not have to use hollow block and we use AAC block? First off, way less mortar. Okay, so we're not using copious amounts of sand and cement. And you know how thick some of these gaps are. They're not like cinder blocks in the Western countries. Sometimes it can be as much as 2 inches of mortar put between bricks. And then the third cost is the cost of all of that rebar. And it's one of the things that guys don't think is strong enough about AAC is the fact there's no rebar in the walls, and these guys kind of lose their giblies over it. I've given them videos, the ballistic testing, the ability that you cannot snap off a corner, the fact that it is solid and not hollow like a hollow block, the fact that when they fill the hollow block, they don't fill the hollow block, they just give a little glop down in there. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that steel is nicely tightened up to that hollow block, right? So all of those types of things, sand and gravel for the putting the hollow block in place, sand and gravel for the finishing both inside and out, could be 2 to 3 layers inside and out. In all cases, you still have to do your finishing skim coat, which we did not do on the garage. It's a garage. And then finally your putty to seal it, and then paint, of course. And lastly, no steel with the AAC block. Okay, no rebar. Now, we will be using the Starkin clips, or we will be using angle clips, which with a simple chisel, you can back chisel the angle that has to attach the AAC to the concrete pillars and to the lintels or beams. I hope that gives you a little bit of a rundown on our reason for the AAC. The costing is going to depend on your area. How much is the steel going to go up in the next little while? How much is the mortar going to go up? Sand and gravel will probably be fairly close to the same. But comparing a stamp in time, we saved well over 20%. So I'm going to assume that when we do our skim coat on the outside, that it's going to fall within the parameters that many other Filipino engineers, etc., that are online that have done comparisons between AAC and hollow block, that 20% holds true. The steel cost alone and those bags of cement and the labor, I don't like, shorting people on their wages and shorting people on being able to feed themselves, but at the end of the day, I want a more seamless product, a more seamless house, and with the AAC, less heat induction into those concrete hollow blocks. With the AAC, it just does not retain the heat the same way. Okay, guys, that's a wrap for this one, and we are on to Canuck Summers.